Hello, this week on Five Brilliant Things, we have the fantastic comedian, actor, director, Aziz Ansari.
I'm doing Royal Albert Hall in July,
great.
which I'm very excited about.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I played the Albert Hall, the thing that was in my head, there's quite a famous World War II song that was sung in this country, which was Hitler has only got one ball, the other is in the Albert Hall.
What?
I was just searching for Hitler's scrotum. It's obviously not going to be there. But the show went up late. Just 'cause I was just
You're checking every cover.
Yeah.
I landed in London the day Brexit passed.
Wow.
And I asked when you got to explain this to me. I don't fully understand it.
Yeah.
And they said, this is like if Trump won the election in America. And I was like, ha, that'll never happen.
Yeah.
I did a series for Netflix. In the second season, my character goes to Italy. And
Now, did you do that because you love Italy?
Oh,
Aziz, look
yeah,
at me.
it was definitely a nice coincidence.
Yeah.
You know, oh, this would be fun to
Clever.
do this, and I'm going to make the character do this.
Yeah. Hello, Aziz. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
How are you?
I'm great.
Are you enjoying this very standard English weather?
Oh my God, there's a massive heat wave, and it's not great. I was saying to someone yesterday, you know, people whenever they talk about America, they're always talking about guns and all this stuff. What they don't talk about is air conditioning.
Yes.
It's everywhere. It's very cool indoors there. Here, here not as much. Although in the studio you have it nice and cool.
One of the joys I find when you're in New York and it's hot is going to a like a little bodega, and it's got that air conditioning by the door, and just lingering.
You shouldn't do that.
You're not allowed?
You're not supposed. It's just British people doing that.
I feel very English when I'm there because I've never experienced it. It's such a welcome icy blast. It's so lovely. But we don't have it. We don't, because we have a week of hot sun where we all think, should we get air conditioning? And then it goes and we're like, it's fine.
Yeah. And then the next year it's worse.
Do you know what we do? Instead of air conditioning, we get a little plastic pool. And as adults, we sit in that plastic pool in our garden. That is British with our man boobs out, just sat there.
I do see it I do see it at at the convenience store when I'm walking around. We were speaking about this earlier. I do live here with my wife, so I'll walk by every now and then, and you see that, and you're like, that's just ridiculous. And then on those hot days, you're like, is it ridiculous?
Yeah.
I mean, it's water.
Well, this is it. So you've been here now for 7 years.
Yeah,
so I think you're 3 years away from
3 years away from a pool. Yeah.
That's when you know.
Maybe we should just endorse one. Have a photo of us just sitting in there. We should just do a podcast. We should do a summer podcast.
Yes.
That we host in an inflatable pool in a garden.
That would work, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I mean, the sponsor. That's a clear shot there, right?
It doesn't get
It's
easier
the pool.
than that. It's the two of us just bubbling away, paddling with Russ and Aziz. That's not bad. Paddling works. What is your first brilliant thing?
My first brilliant thing, which has powered my appearance here, is espresso.
Okay.
I love espresso. I drink a lot of espresso, and I travel a lot, and you're touring as a comedian and everything. You're always a little tired, and that's the fuel.
What is your? Take me through. How many are you having a day?
Well, right now I have a little bit of jet lag from coming from New York, so I'll probably have 2 or 3 at least a day. Usually I have like 2 a day.
And do you have an espresso or do you have like a flash coffee
Oh,
machine?
I got a flash coffee machine.
Lovely.
I started with an espresso years and years ago.
Yeah.
Then I got like a machine where it's not like the high end machines they have in the coffee shops or whatever, the Marzocco or whatever. But it was like you grind your own beans and pull the shot.
It's proper clicky clacky.
Yeah. And I used to drink like a cappuccino or cortado, which is basically like a flat white. And then I was filming a stand-up special. I don't know, I remember maybe 7 years ago, and I'd been on tour, and I'd been drinking and eating too much on tour and not exercising, so I looked a little chunky. And I was gonna film, and I was like, "Hey, man, I don't want to look chunky on the special," and have people be like, "Man, this guy's gotten chunky since the last special." So I asked a friend of mine who's like he loses weight for movies and stuff, and I was like, "All right, what do I do?" And he said, cut out all the sugar, no bread. try to eat vegetarian. If you need to eat meat, eat fish. And he said if you drink coffee in the morning, cut out the milk. And so I used to drink the cortado with a little sugar, and so then I stopped all that. And at first it was pretty weird for me, and it was hard. But then eventually I got used to just having just espresso,
Mm.
and I love spending time in Italy, and that's their whole thing is that they just drink espresso all day. And so
So it started off as a punishment, and then you fell in love with it.
I
It's a bit
it
like Stockholm syndrome, you know, when you're kidnapped and eventually you fall in love with the guy.
or maybe more like an acquired taste.
Yeah, that's a
It's
better
less
way of putting
violent.
it. Yeah. Let's go with acquired taste.
But yeah, so
What an awful
that
metaphor I searched for there.
that's how I got into the pure espresso, and yeah.
Do you have a particular kind of bean, or are you always on the lookout for new bean? Are you one of those guys?
Oh,
Are you a bean sniffer?
I'm just there with any interest, right? There's like it's like I don't know, is that a bell curve when it's like that? It's like there's like a zone where it's like, hey, you know a lot and it's cool, and then you know too much and you become a douche. That's where I am. I'm like,
We're
you,
all there though, aren't we? It's
depending on the thing.
mm,
But I like a dark roast kind of, one that's not super acidic, so it doesn't make you retch. A lot of times most of the time when you get espresso at a coffee shop here in New York, whatever, it's very acidic. That's
mm.
kind of what's trendy for some reason.
Have you been to Scandinavia?
Yeah, yeah. My wife's Danish, so we
Right.
spent a lot of time in Denmark.
Because I find the Scandinavian coffees are like that of all the coffees, those are the one that blow me away. Like they're
In,
so strong.
they taste really. They make you kind of pull
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the place and what they're doing, but normally most people for some reason they like the kind of more acidic thing that makes me kind of pull back. But in Italy, it's always very smooth and it's a dark roast, and so I found some beans that I like that I found in some place in Italy, and I use those.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So
and it's very smooth, and you know where else I like in London? If there's people listening in London, at Bar Termini in Soho, I
right.
find that's the best. The best espresso to me is my house and Bar Termini.
Well, okay, fair enough. And do you? So if you got friends coming over to stay, do you kind of revel in making them an espresso in the morning? Are you one of those guys like try these beans? This is going to blow your mind.
I don't say that, but I'll say, I'll say, hey, if you try have espresso, and if they're like, oh, can I have some sugar? Whatever, I'm like, oh, just take it, taste it, and see if you need it. And he's like, oh, okay, this is
You
very
go in
smooth.
gentle. You go in
Yeah,
gentle.
and
Fine.
then I smile to myself.
Yeah, that's the mistake I make sometimes. Where like if you've got a good, I cook a good lasagna,
Oh, whoa,
but I
lasagna is pretty hard.
but I hype it too much. It's the one dish I've recently just figured it out, but I hype it too much. Rather than
So
just say, hey, do you fancy that? Like this is the great, and it's never going to be the greatest.
so when I did this, I did a series for Netflix. In the second season, my character goes to Italy and
Now,
learns.
did you do that because you love Italy?
Oh,
Aziz, look
yeah,
at me. Yeah,
it was
yeah.
definitely a nice coincidence.
Yeah.
Oh, this would be fun to do
Clever.
this, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna make the character do this.
Yeah.
But I worked in this small pasta shop, and for a few months I stayed in this town to kind of learn Italian, kind of come up with story ideas. Again, it was a great scheme I did,
Mm.
and I worked in this little pasta shop, and one day they were like, "All right, we're gonna make lasagna today," and this is in Modena, which is in Emilia Romagna. This is they are take a lot of pride in their food and in lasagna and the ragu, all this stuff. So I did everything. I made the ragu, I made the sheets, the bechamel, everything, and I finished it, and she was like, "All right, this is yours. You get to take one for lunch." She like gave me this old lady, and I was like, "Oh, this is and this ended up being in the show in some form. I think we did the exact same thing." So I had a bike. It's like it's a very like picturesque like little Italian town. So you ride your bike everywhere, and so I had lasagna on my bike. It was like in a plastic bag, hanging off the handle, and then I was riding back to my house, and then I hit like a bump in the street, like in one of the cobblestone streets, and then somehow the plastic bag went into the spokes of the wheel, and then all the
Ah,
lasagna and all the
oh,
lasagna got crunched up.
oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
Oh God, it's like a heartbreaking carb-based ET story, isn't it? Just you on a bike
yeah.
losing it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you were audibly upset then, Dan?
It's just such an Italian accident. A lasagna
Yes.
getting caught
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
bike.
Oh
Like,
God!
Just
Thank
a
God.
passerby, Mamma mia.
Thank goodness I didn't get I didn't get physically hurt. Like, what happened to your leg? Ah, lasagna got in my leg.
Emotionally, the emotional pain from but cooking that, making it, preparing it, then riding the bike home in anticipation that you were going to eat it. And
Oh,
then,
and I called my friend. I was like, "Oh, I got this lasagna. Let's share that for lunch." He was like, "Great." And then I got there, and he was like, "What happened?" And I showed him the back. He was like, "Oh no."
what was that like to kind of take a break from, quote unquote showbiz to go and live in Italy and work in a pasta shop?
It was really fun to just even be in a smaller city where the rhythm was just so much slower and just away from, uh, I like being away from LA especially, but I don't know, New York and LA, there's such a everyone is so focused on their career and they're so driven to do this and that, which can be good at times, but other times it's a little exhausting and it makes you feel bad about yourself. And it makes you feel like you're falling behind or something. And when I lived in that town, I remember no one was really thinking about that stuff. They were kind of just more interested in spending time with their friends and family and having a good meal and it wasn't work wasn't as all consuming as it is for someone like me. But I also do something a little different. I mean, I love what I do and that's kind of a gift and a curse because you can't ever turn it off. If I'm working on a screenplay now and it's in my head all the time, which is kind of fun, but it's also a little exhausting and it's also a little nuts. But it was interesting to just be in a place where there's such a different rhythm.
And how long were you there for?
I was there like 2 months, maybe.
Wow, so
Yeah.
it's a decent chunk.
It was a decent chunk, and I mean, it's one of those things.
Was there part of you thinking, I could stay here, this could be my life?
No, it was a little too slow at a certain
Right,
point,
yeah.
and I have one of my good friends. He still lives there, and whenever I go see him, I'm like, wow, this is it would be I'd need. I don't really live anywhere in a way. I stay in London. My wife's here, and I spend as much time as I can here. But I'm always running around. Like I was supposed to be in New York for 2 weeks, and I was just going there to do stand up because I feel like when I'm trying to write stand up, I do my best job doing that in New York at the Comedy Cellar there and whatever. I'm not used to writing stuff here or in LA for that matter. And then this I ended up getting a call to do this thing on Saturday Night Live, and I ended up staying like another 3 weeks, and I always just have like random things like that happen, and I end up not being home, much to my wife's chagrin. And but I like being in different places, and I have friends in different places, and that kind of that nomadic lifestyle kind of suits me. I get kind of bored if I stay in one place too long.
What is your next brilliant thing?
My next brilliant thing is home cooked Indian food.
Okay.
Which I was excited to even just read it just then.
Yeah, I agree. Now, take me through. So, who is cooking the home? Are you cooking? Is it your mum? Is it your dad? Who's cooking?
Well, I cook a lot. My mom is a fantastic cook, and I have so many great cooks in my family. But when I'm here in London at home, it's me, and my wife helps out, and my wife's not bad, but she doesn't enjoy. She doesn't like if I'm gone, she'll just eat cottage cheese. She just doesn't really care.
Yes.
When I'm home, it's like, oh, let's make a biryani. Let's go to the farmer's market.
Yep.
If I'm gone, I'm like, what did you eat? And she's like, I ate Weetabix
Yeah.
with cold milk. It was great. So Indian food, people I think are very intimidated to cook it. Do you ever cook Indian food?
Yes.
Yeah.
The I've said this before on the podcast, but apparently the trick, because I think English Indian takeaway is one of our, if not our greatest cuisine in this country. It's
The Indian food here is a lot stronger than it is, a lot better than it is in America in general.
It's really fascinating to me because a lot of it's onion based. So if you kind of microwave the onion down, it makes it more kind of smushy at the beginning, so it can become a paste, apparently. And I've tried that a few times, and it did work. Rather than having an onion stewing for kind of hours, like they might have in a restaurant. Apparently, it's like a
It
little
just
hack.
breaks it down so it get well. The more the onion, the liquid from the onion is kind of that's what kind of melts and gets into the curry. But
Yeah.
I guess I just cook the onions till they get like a little brown, and then they usually break down. But
What
that's an interesting trick.
it worked actually. What would be your kind of Indian, curry of choice? Like, take me through. What would you have?
I mean, they're all everyone's intimidated at the idea of cooking Indian food. I think even me, like when I was younger, I would see my mom do stuff, and I'd be like, wait, what was that? How much of that did you do? And it's never that precise. They're all
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
doing everything by eye. But the more you do it, you realize, oh yeah, it's not so precise. It's not like baking. As long as you're close, you're not gonna screw it up.
Mm.
But they're all the recipes. My family is from the southern part of India, this area called Tamil Nadu, and my mom's from Kerala, and it's a lot of coconut oil and coconut milk. It's more those kind of flavors,
Yeah,
less of the North Indian stuff, which people are generally more familiar with. But
yeah.
every recipe for a curry kind of is starts the same. You usually have some aromatics. You start with coconut oil. You start some aromatics, cloves, cardamom, bay leaf, and then you have the onions, thinly sliced. Those cook down, and then you add ginger, garlic, equal parts ginger, garlic, and then whatever the meat is, and
Mm.
it's tomato or cilantro, coconut milk, and whatever, and then you have that with rice or
Mm.
Oh,
some
don't
bread.
stop.
It's fun, isn't it? It's yeah. It's the greatest cuisine. I love it so much.
Yeah, and I used to be pretty nervous to make it myself, and I used to make this one fish dish called fish moile, and then over COVID, I started COVID the whole time during COVID. Cooking is kind of what kept my sanity because I
Yeah.
built my life around cooking meals for me and my wife because that was all we could do. And and
Mm.
and in London, we were here during COVID. All the farmers markets were still open, and it was pretty easy to kind of um get food to
Mm.
cook and everything. So I just started spending a lot of time cooking new things and pushing myself to make stuff I'd never made before. And with Indian food, I think YouTube is a massive resource. Like you can watch people doing it, so you visualize it, and it makes it a little less scary. And it's also interesting because there's all these Indian aunties in making YouTube channels,
Mm.
and if you watch one of those and they're not speaking English, then it's really cool. You're like, oh, whoa, this is really it's
Yeah.
really legit.
Yeah. What is it like then being on the road if you're kind of a bit of a connoisseur? Do you struggle kind of eating on the road? Do you try and find? Do you go to each city and find like a flash place or?
Well, it's interesting I've been touring for a long time, and nowadays when I tour, every city you go to, I mean, this is in America anyway. I feel like the when I used to tour, like there wouldn't really be a good coffee shop in every town or whatever. Now there's like a million coffee
Yeah.
shops, there's a million cool restaurants, and there's always like a couple of places that are worth going to. Usually one of them's open late, and you can go have a fun meal after the show. But I know I don't know what your after show thing is. Some people are like, oh, I finish a show and I go straight to my hotel and I go to bed. I'm wired, and and
Are
I'm
you?
so awake
Mm.
from the show that I like to have a meal and hang out with the people I bring with on tour, the opening comedians, the tour manager. We're all very friendly, so
Yeah,
we like
yeah.
to hang out. And because as you get older, I don't know if you feel this, but the travel is what kills me. You
Yeah,
know.
I think I've done like 3 tours in America, and I'm kind of the classic kind of one nighter, but zigzagging Washington, Boston, New York,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just the gigs are great, but it is an exhausting place.
What about when you tour in the UK?
I'm lucky that I can be somewhere for like a weekend.
Okay, that's
So
good.
I was for years I did arenas, and then I kind of started doing like a Thursday to a Sunday in
That's way more
in
fun.
Manchester in like a sort of 2000, and it's just the best because the show evolves, and you're less knackered, and you're kind of I don't know I never got to that stage, and you've done arenas as well. I never got to, I creatively stood still a bit when the show was finished. I found it very difficult to kind of tinker with the show when I was in a big room in front of 15,000, I would go, this is the monologue. It goes like this. Whereas in a 2,000, you still
Yeah,
feel
a
like,
little bit.
you know, it's you can add a bit, you can take a bit, you can move it around.
I totally agree. And I talk to a lot of people that have that same idea. I mean, it's crazy because I remember when I first started doing theaters, there was like a handful of people
Yeah.
that did theaters. And now like everybody
It's
does
crazy,
theaters.
isn't it?
And there's
Yeah.
like a bunch of people that do arenas.
Yeah.
But when I talk to those people, when we have this conversation, I think most people feel the same way. It's like, oh, it's actually more fun to do like a few theaters
Yeah.
than one arena.
You are gigging in the UK, aren't you? On this tour?
Yeah, I'm doing Royal Albert Hall in
Oh,
July, which
great.
I'm very excited about.
Amazing.
Yeah,
When is that? That's in July.
Yeah, that's July 11th, I believe. Yeah, and I did it on the last tour, and it was so fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever done that venue, but I thought it was like one of my favorite places I've ever performed.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to do it, and it creates its own atmosphere when you walk in. It's you know, you can see like as the performer you're excited, but you can see, you know, people pull back the kind of red drapes and they walk into this room and it goes, it creates this is nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's that lovely halfway house between an arena and a big theater. It
Yes.
has that big ba 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 ba.
Yes.
But it isn't like, oh God, we can't see him.
Yeah. It's kind of in that sweet spot where it feels like a really special theater. But everybody loves it, so it's hard to get a date there. And some date opened up in July that weekend, and I was like, oh yeah, let's do it.
Great.
Yeah, so
Very
excited.
exciting.
But
It's definitely the most beautiful thing named after Prince Albert.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, definitely. It's the other thing is, you know,
It's hideous.
what's the other thing?
the Prince
Oh.
Albert. Go on, Dan, you take it away. So Prince Albert is if you have your penis pierced.
What?
Yeah. It is. I'm not. That's why he made the joke. No one really knows
See,
why.
this is the longer I'm here, the more I learn all these things.
Unless this is a big double bluff and you're sitting there with one right now.
No.
Well, I remember the first time I played the Albert Hall, the thing that was in my head was, I don't know if you know, there's quite a famous World War II song that was sung in this country, which was Hitler has only got one ball, the other is in the Albert Hall. And
What?
all I could think about when I was backstage, I was opening cupboards, just in case. Do you know what I mean? It was like this weird. It's like if you saw Richard Gere in a pet shop, you would be going, "What's going on here? Is he going in the hamsters?" Like it's just
that whole thing.
no, but you know what I mean. Like, but
I know, disgusting, right?
but you can't. As soon as something's in your head, I was just searching for Hitler's scrotum. It's obviously not going to be there. But the show went up late. Just 'cause I was
You're checking every cover.
yeah. But that's so exciting, man. I'm excited for you. How cool. What is your next brilliant thing?
Martinis.
Oh, okay. What is in a martini? I don't really know a lot about.
So I used to not be into martinis.
Right.
And it became kind of trendy. I don't know, maybe around COVID time. I felt like people got into it, and after COVID ended, there was this whole thing in New York where people are really into the kind of idea of old New York and going to these places that have been around for a while and have a history and drinking martinis. And I always thought, martinis is cold gin. This is not a good drink. I didn't really understand why people are into it. And then I was at some party in London, and there was this guy there, an old Italian guy, and he was, he was wearing like a white tuxedo jacket, bow tie, dressed very classy, and he was making these martinis, and he was doing like a high pour, and he was like squeezing a lemon peel from Amalfi, and he was really putting on a show. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna try one from this guy.
Yep.
And I tried it, and I was like, I get it, I understand it, I get it. And then I got into martinis, and then I went to Duke's here in London, which is, some people say it's where the martini was created. I might be wrong about that. I'm not sure, but it's very famous, and they make a great martini, and they basically keep everything in the freezer. They keep the gin in the freezer, and the glass in the freezer, and when you go there, the guy pulls up a cart, and he'll grab the glass that's been, it's got a frost on it for being in the freezer, and then he pours like a little bit of vermouth, swirls it around, and then tosses it on the ground, and then they'll pour the gin that's been in the freezer, and they'll do a high pour and maybe squeeze the lemon peel on it as it's going down, and then rub it around the rim, and it's so elegant, and just the way they do it is so amazing, and yeah, I don't know, and
Are
it's just
you strike me as somebody that's into the ceremonial aspects of things. Like you're describing, cooking the Indian
Yeah,
food
yeah,
in a
yeah.
certain way. You make the espresso in a certain way. You clearly have a reverence for doing things in the correct way. Is that fair?
Yeah, or just the ritual and taking your time and
Yeah.
and not rushing it necessarily. Yeah, I think that's part of it. That's all very meditative. Martinis, yeah, there's something. Martinis basically it's basically like cooking something, right? It's like each one's a little different. It's also about the place you're having it and where you are. Uh, you know, uh, I don't know. I'm thinking about like there's this place in Italy. I was with my wife one time, and I remember we were having one in the terrace of this place. It was really nice, and it was like a tiny one, like a tiny glass, and there was like really fragrant rosemary nearby. I put a little sprig of rosemary in, and that was like a unique thing, and yeah, I don't know.
No, I like it. Are you a martini guy, Dan?
I find them quite strong.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's a big one, like because it's just gin and then a bit of vermouth, depending on how
Yeah,
much
just a
you want.
swirl. Yeah, but sometimes people make them. There's dirty martinis with all juice and all
my
that
wife
stuff.
loves
Yeah.
those. Churchill used to have it without the vermouth, so
Really?
That's
That
a
sounds
glass of
very on
gin.
brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just had a glass of gin with. Would he put a lemon twist?
no,
So he just
absolutely
drank
not.
cold gin.
He'd
Yeah,
call it a martini and just
Wow.
knock
Yeah.
back the gin.
Now, I tell you what I'm a fan of, and that's an espresso martini.
Ah.
That they are at our wedding. The venue suggested espresso martinis. I think the wedding was at like 3, and then they said we'll bring him out at about 7.
It's a great idea.
And it would
yeah.
just pep everyone up.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like cocaine in a jar. Like honestly, everyone was suddenly wild. It was fun. It's such a great pick me up.
It's good. How old were you when you got married?
I was 38.
Okay, so that's pretty close to. How old was I? I got married 4 years ago, so I was 39.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the age where your friends need that espresso martini,
Yes,
or else the
correct.
wedding's over at like 12:02.
Yeah.
But we did the exact same thing.
Oh, great.
And it was and we do that whenever my wife and I, if we usually do a Christmas party every year, and this year we did it in London, and I got that guy from that martini story.
Wow.
He's a character. And he came to our house, and he made espresso martinis, and
Oh.
everybody got into it.
Great.
And yeah, it kept us awake, because otherwise, in your late 30s, early 40s, people will,
This is it, man. Yeah.
they'll be like, our kids. Blah, blah, blah.
Where'd you get married?
I got married in Italy. Yeah, in Tuscany. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And did you have a stag do? Where was
I
your
did. Oh.
stag do? Where was your honeymoon?
I didn't do a stag do.
Didn't fancy it?
Honeymoon. My wife and I went to Japan.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was.
That's
nice.
where I proposed.
In Japan? Where, in Tokyo or somewhere else?
In Tokyo. Yeah.
Oh, really? Where in
yeah.
Tokyo?
The hotel where they did Lost in Translation.
Oh, yeah, that's a
Yeah,
beautiful place. Did you do it in that bar, or did you do it in the room?
In our room, and
In Bill Murray's voice.
no, but my wife said yes, and then I went out to fight a man in a sumo wrestling contest because I was doing a travel show with my mother.
Oh,
So it was a very unique day.
this is like a classic. It's been fun for me doing these podcasts in London, because there's so many British comics I haven't met.
Yeah.
Because at the Comedy Cellar in New York, like, the people that are touring a lot and whatever, whether it's like Chappelle or Chris Rock or whoever, they'll come by and I'll see those guys. But in London, I never met you. I never met I did Ramesh's podcast. I never met him. And it's cool to meet you guys. And I know he did it. He does a lot of stuff with his mom, and then
Yes.
Jack Whitehall did a show with
Yeah.
his dad. I gotta just go. Seems like that's like a good move. I just gotta call someplace and be like, hey, me and my dad are gonna go around.
Yeah, it was exactly that. It kind of, I think TV companies are wise to it now. But yeah,
They're like, yeah, we got to stop doing these.
yeah, but it was definitely that thing where I got asked by Comedy Central. I said, "Oh, do you want to do a travel show?" I said, "Yeah." And who do you want to go with? And my mum 3 weeks earlier had said that her ambition in life was to be in an old folks home where they didn't hit her.
Oh my
And I
God.
thought it was such low expectations that the very least I could do is give her memories to enjoy in between the beatings. So that's what we did. But we have this very unique experience of, I've seen my mum dressed as a geisha. I've seen her.
Sounds inappropriate,
Yeah,
but okay.
totally. But doing all these kind of like we
And then you did the travel show as well.
then we did the travel show. But it was so much fun. But
How many episodes did you do?
6, 12, 18. So
Wow.
we traveled around America the first time. It was really interesting. It was around the kind of Brexit referendum, and I remember being there and just seeing Bernie signs and Trump signs everywhere. And it was before the world that we now live in. And it was I look back at those times going, wow, do you think Brexit's going to happen? Is that going to be a thing? We were having these conversations. So this Trump guy, is he going to, and it's like you're describing when you're an outsider and going, oh, so Ramesh or Russell or whatever, it was so interesting being an alien in another culture and seeing it. But the one thing that was obvious was that Hillary wasn't going to win because there were no signs wherever we went in America. It was either Bernie or Trump, but I didn't see one Hillary. So when you're like an outsider, I could see it quite clearly. It was very interesting.
I landed in London. I was just here for something, I can't remember, some work stuff. I'd landed the day Brexit passed, and people were acting the way they were, and I asked when you got to explain this to me. I don't fully understand it.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, this is like if Trump won the election in America." And I was like, "Ha ha ha! That'll never happen."
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't have, I was in New York, and whenever he won that first time, it was not what you're describing amongst the people in New York. Everyone thought Hillary was going to win. I mean, people were like, "Oh, first female president."
Yeah.
It was good. It was completely not that.
What is your next brilliant thing?
Films and books.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. Lovely and broad.
Yeah. Maybe you could have gotten a little more specific.
Straight away, what is the book that leaps out and what is the film that leaps out?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so the book that leaps out, I guess because it's the summer. I last summer I read this book called The Magus, which is by John Fowles, and it was a big book. It was one of the bigger books I've read, but I was fully sucked in by it, and if you can get sucked into a big long, and I don't read on a Kindle or anything. I'm a very kind of analog guy and like things that are tactile, and I find it's so weird. Everything I'm like, it's such a nice break from all the frustration in my showbiz career. It sounds like I'm losing my mind, but I'm not. But I love getting the kind of it is a breather from whatever stress you're dealing with, and to really find comfort in a book. I remember I read a book. Elia Kazan, famous director, he did On the Waterfront, Facing the Crowd, a lot of great films. He in his biography called A Life, which is incredible. And if you're anybody who's thinking of, directing, screenwriting, whatever, it's required reading. A lot of insightful stuff in there. But he talks about how in his life, he realized, he could always find comfort in a book.
Yep.
And I feel it's true. And I used to not read. I feel like there's a lot of people that feel like, I haven't seen all these, because sometimes it can be intimidating when you hear people talk about all these movies they've seen, all these books they've read, and you're like, oh well, I can't do that. But I made a choice however many years ago to be like, I don't read enough, and I want to be someone that reads, so I'm going to try to read a little bit every day, and I did, and now I've read a lot of books that I'm happy I've read, and I've same with movies. When I decided I wanted to direct, I was like, all right, well, I want to direct movies, and I want to get better at directing, and I realized, the people that have that are really accomplished directors, more often than not, they've seen a lot of movies. If you read interviews with someone like Wes Anderson or Scorsese or Paul Thomas Anderson, they've watched every movie, it sounds like. So I said that can't be a coincidence. It's got to be helpful to have this knowledge of other films. So when I was doing around that time, I started watching all these movies I hadn't seen, and kind of studying all this stuff, whether it's
And
Billy Wilder, Kurosawa, whoever,
are you
and
watching them with that in mind? Is it like school, or is it pure enjoyment?
it's both, and you watch things and you rewatch things, and they mean something different to you as you get older, and depending on what you're writing, you kind of develop a little syllabus for yourself. I've been writing something that has to deal with like infidelity, so I was watching all these movies about that, and it's interesting to see how people tackle these stories, and I also try to read books about whatever I'm writing movies about, and it's interesting to see because what you find is that a lot of these things you're thinking about and dealing with, they're the same problems people have had throughout time, whether you're
Mm.
reading something hundreds of years old. I mean, I went with my wife to see. I'd never been to the opera before, and I went with my wife to see Rigoletto at the Royal Opera House. Have you ever been to an opera?
No.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I went in thinking, okay, this is gonna be one of these things we're doing to try to be cultured,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be a slog, and it was 3 hours long. We're like, oh my god, and we sit down. First of all, they had like we had like this nice little box that we're sitting in, and the theater's beautiful. It's a really historic place, and they have translations for everything, and as soon as it started, it comes out this starts with this guy who's basically talking about, like, how he just wants to fuck every woman in this town, and you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Wait, this story just about a fuck boy?"
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, "Yes!" It's like, "Oh, this guy, I know this guy. This guy's still around now."
Yeah.
And the famous song in Rigoletto is a bum 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 bum. That song, the translation is "Women are fickle." Like
Oh, is that right?
yeah, it's like,
Blimey.
well, did Chris Brown write this
Yeah, yeah,
opera?
yeah, yeah.
Like that's how it feels.
Yeah.
And it was so funny, and it held my attention the whole time, and I had a really great time, and but you realize, oh yeah, these are themes that plays hundreds of years old.
Mm.
How do you know what they're saying?
They have a little thing that translates it right in front.
Like a live subtitle.
Yeah, there's like a little screen in front of the seat, and there's also a little thing above the stage that has the translations. Yeah, I didn't know that either. I thought you were supposed to just read a Wikipedia page before and then kind of figure it out.
Mm.
But no, they have translations, and it's all still holds up. I mean, it's incredible to think that this was written. How also I read about it afterwards. That tune, that dun 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 dun. The writer Verdi, he knew it was so good that he didn't give it to the guy until right before I can't remember if it was right before rehearsals, right before the first performance, and he was like, "Do not whistle this, don't sing it anywhere, don't practice it, only here," because he didn't want it to leak.
Wow.
And then he held it, and then the next day everybody was like,
Bum,
"Bum,
bum,
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 da,
bum."
da.
Yeah, and it's also cool to go to those things and you hear those things which are so ingrained in our head from just
Mm.
who knows where. It's like for me, it's like I think it was like in a pizza commercial when I was a
Yeah.
kid, and then
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, that's that song."
Yeah. It's so fascinating, isn't it? With the simplicity of bum, 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 da, da. I often think about, like, the White Stripes riff, bow, bow, bow,
Yeah,
bow,
yeah,
bow,
those
bow. And
earworms.
it's so simple. It's always been there, and yet Jack White found it, Verdi found it, but it's
And there's
not.
still ones to find,
Of
right?
course,
That
yeah,
like
yeah.
Jack White found that,
Mm. Yeah.
however many years ago. I mean, it's interesting. That is really one of the most memorable riffs of the past
Mm.
100 years, right?
Yeah, Rick Rubin talks very interestingly about kind of creativity and about being open to the world.
Yeah, I read that book. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of what you're doing. You're taking school. If you watch all of the films, if you kind of, you read as much as you can, it just all go to the opera. It kind of all falls in.
Oh,
And
whenever I watch stuff too, it starts getting. I don't know if you have this. If I'm in a place where I'm trying to come up with stand up, if I'm just around a comedy club and just hear other people performing and hear laughs, there's something in my brain that's like, wait,
Mm.
you can do this too. Come on, what about this?
Yeah.
It activates something.
But also the fact that you went to the opera, and you listen to it and you go, oh, this guy's a fuckboy. Who wrote this? Chris Brown. Because your language is comedy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know how to translate it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you don't write those jokes if you don't go to the opera.
Yeah, that's
you
also-
don't think those jokes, and it's sort of that thing, isn't it? Of like, it's such a fine line between diligently writing and creating and going for a walk, or going to the opera, or watching a film and just letting the world kind of glide past you. So
Yeah,
that you can
otherwise
go,
you
that bit.
Yeah, otherwise you become that guy that's on tour just talking about being on tour all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know what? Other day I was checking into the hotel and
Yeah.
like, "All right, dude, you gotta stop being on the road for a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah.
It's all about travel."
Yeah.
Which is fine, but yeah, I have this whole list I wrote myself one time. One time, someone that works with me, she's my assistant, but she's kind of my producer now, and she was like, oh, I'm trying to write something, I can't come up with anything, and I had this list of all this stuff of like what to do if you feel like you can't write, and yeah, it's like doing things you don't normally do, having new experiences. Oh, go get dinner with some person you haven't seen in a long time. There are those things you can do to kind of open yourself up to new things, because usually when you can't, I think when you aren't able to write, it's usually because you're just not doing anything that's inspiring you. It's probably just more a fault of you just kind of doing the same routine and not changing things up enough, and not having conversations with different people or whatever. You're probably
But
just kind
crucially, across all of the things you've talked about today,
Mhm.
you're crucially being present in the moment. Because if you're half distracted by your phone while you're watching a film, while you're doing this, the other, it's not going in properly to write the stand-up.
Very, very, very perceptive, and that is a great war of my life, is to try to be present, and yeah, it's so we create this culture where it's all about multitasking, and the smartphone in particular. you know who hasn't had this experience? You're pulling it out to do one thing. I want to look up. Let's say you pull it out to look up. Oh, you know what? That was interesting. Aziz was talking about go to the opera. Let me look up Royal Opera House, and then you go to look it up. Oh, there's a message from this person about hot dogs, and then you're like, okay, and then so fuck the opera. It's gone now. Now you're on the hot dogs or whatever, and that's why I just don't like that stuff. I try to kind of, even things like and this might lead to my next thing.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done, Aziz.
The reason I put one of my favorite things is pen and paper.
Yep.
Is because pen and paper doesn't do that. You don't
Yep.
write on pen and paper and then some other thing that has nothing to do with what you're dealing with shows up on the paper.
So would you write films on pen and paper?
That's what I started doing because I like Letterboxd. As you know what Letterboxd is?
No.
Letterboxd is a website that has all these films listed. It's kind of like the equivalent of like Goodreads. You know what Goodreads is?
Yeah.
So it's like Goodreads for movies.
Right.
And people make lists and all this stuff. And I browsed around on there, and it's an incredible resource. I'm not poo-pooing this thing. I like it. But I sometimes just, you end up making a list of like 200 movies. And you're like, all right, well, when am I going to get to all these?
Yeah.
Or, you see this movie, and then you see, oh, well, that cinematographer, interesting. And then you click and you see all the movies they did. Okay, we'll sort them by and you can go on these wormholes. All the internet stuff, it's all designed, whatever it is, it's designed to pull you into a wormhole to get you to spend more time on it. It's not designed to help you do the thing you wanted it to do. It's just designed to make you stay on there as much as they possibly can, which probably ends up being not efficient for your own purposes. So if I make a list of movies on a pen and paper, which is what I started doing a couple months ago, then instead of like me and my wife in bed, we're about to go to bed, oh, should we watch a movie? We don't spend 30 minutes like scrolling and whatever. It's like, well, here's what's on the list. Is this okay? Yeah, let's do it. And then you start watching, and I think that's it. I've sometimes gotten mad, not mad, but upset with my wife because like I always like to have a pad and paper nearby
Mm.
because I told my wife, it's like, the, the reason we're in this house is because I had a pad and paper and was able to put certain things down on a pad,
Mm.
and that ended up being a big deal for me. I have to be able to, and I don't like writing things in my, I wouldn't do things in an iPad or smartphone because of the things I was talking about. I think there's a clarity of mind you get from just using pad and paper. It's keeping you present, focused on whatever this idea is,
Yes.
and the idea is the it's the seed of why we're all sitting here. Yeah. Do you write on paper? Do you write?
Bit of both, really. So
Yeah.
when I was doing my TV show, I'd always written stand up on pad and paper,
Yeah.
and then doing the show, it just felt it was
Script
just
I write on a
yeah,
final draft.
It
or
was so
whatever,
much
yeah.
more efficient. But whenever I'm doing stand up, it always comes back. I like writing on computer, but it becomes too prosaic and it's like I'm trying to impress myself whereas stand up cuts to the quick. So on the pad, you just get there quicker without
Do you write out the whole thing, or do you just write a bullet point?
bullet points and
Yeah. Same.
and then occasionally try and firm up language. So it's I kind of go back and forth, really, and then sometimes it's that beautiful thing that the perfect phrase will just pop into your head when you're on stage and go, cool.
More
that's what
often
it
than
is.
not, those phrases do come on stage.
But I think they only come because you've sat down. I think that's the lesson I've learned, is that you might spend a couple of hours writing, not going anywhere. You go on stage and suddenly, bing, oh, there it is. But would it have come if you hadn't have done the groundwork? I'm not sure.
when you write, so let's say you've just filmed a special or whatever, and you're starting over. How do you start with the writing process?
There was a sort of, I remember reading a thing that what Woody Allen used to do. He would write basically what you're describing. He would write little notes down, and then he would put them in a drawer. So he was always making little observations, kind of putting little things down, and then put them away in this drawer. And then when he came to write a film, he would get the drawer out, kind of empty it out, and see and sift through what his brain had been doing over the last 6 months. And I do that. So on my iPhone, I would look at all the notes that I've made,
Yeah.
and go, okay, let's try and write on those. And I find that so much easier because you're writing on a theme or an idea or a kernel, rather than sitting there with a blank page. You're like, it's almost like you're editing old thoughts you've had.
Yeah.
But at least you've got the thought, and you're like, that's interesting. Let's have a play with that.
But okay, so let's say you have let's say you're me and you have the thing and it said, oh, the opera thing, whatever. So then what's the next?
So I would go to, there's a brilliant, if you're looking for somewhere to gig, Top Secret in
I've
London.
been there. Yeah.
So I would go, I would say that's kind of the London equivalent of the Cellar at the minute, and so I can do three 20-minute sets there, and I would just go up with notes in my pocket and kind of.
And you would figure it out on stage. This is basically what I do.
Yeah. And
I was hoping you had some sort of shortcut.
No. But what I love, and it's the maddening thing that we've all had, that you might have a joke that you've been doing for 3 months, 6 months, whatever, and it's perfect, it's finished, it's great, and then one night your brain goes bloop, and you open it up completely, and you go, okay, well, the joke was always about that, and then the old bit that you were doing kind of just pushes away. And I find that so fascinating, how you can do something over and over and over, and then one night your brain goes, you do realise you're doing it wrong. This is how you do the joke. I love all that. I find it...
That's all fun. You know what? I don't know if this is your experience, but I feel like whatever tour I do and whatever special I do, I always am like trying to figure out, okay, what's the big closer? Like, what's like the big thing at the end? And no one ever remembers those bits.
Yeah.
People always remember like some bit in the middle that's really funny. Because people say, like, with a movie and with a stand-up special too, I feel like I've heard people say this. It's you remember the beginning, the end, and their favorite parts.
Yeah.
But I think they remember the beginning and their favorite parts.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I don't think they remember the end.
No.
No one's ever come up to me about that bit at the end.
Yeah.
The thing that got the biggest laugh in the theater where everyone lost their mind, and then you were like, "Thanks, good night," and they're like, "Ah." Don't remember that.
Yeah. I think we comedians still live in that world of the build and the show, and it kind of goes there, and
Well,
that's
because
the
we're
end.
doing
Yeah.
we're doing it live, right? You can't clip the live show.
Yes.
You're doing the. I mean, I'd love to see your tour, to see your hour, to see what it's like, because it's. I tried to start going to more shows to see people, because it's interesting to see what other people did.
Yeah.
I saw uh, John Mulaney was in London, and,
Yes.
and he's an old friend of mine from New York, and I hadn't seen him in a while, and it was fun to see his hour. It was fun to see how someone does an hour, and
Yes.
and it was like,
It's nice to be in an audience
yeah,
that you forget as in a comedy audience, and what I love about it is that you become certain of the things you like and the things you want to do and the things that aren't for you, because you are experiencing it. Like, I think silence is a really interesting thing, because I was always terrified of silence. You want to go, oh, keep on laughing, keep on laughing. You forget actually silence is sometimes really lovely, because they're thinking and they're engaging. But I was always terrified of it. And it took me to sit in a room with a comic who wasn't afraid to talk and be still, that you go, oh, this is fine. Whereas on stage, I was always like, I'm dying, they're quiet, fuck,
yeah.
But you don't get that unless you sit in the room and feel it.
Yeah, I mean, the people, I think Chappelle said something like that to me one time about being comfortable with silence, and Dave Attell as well. You watch someone like him, like, I don't, Dave Attell, I feel like I've seen him sometimes, and I've been like, I don't think I've seen anyone that cares less about the audience, like that is so comfortable. You know, I did a show one time. It was, so Chappelle was doing The Garden, and he had all these people come do guest sets, and I did one, and what's his name? George Wallace did one.
Yeah.
Which was very cool. You know, he's like, I don't know if you know
Yeah, I
him.
know
He's like,
George
yeah,
Wallace,
and it was cool, because I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience never seen him. He's an older guy, whatever. And I did that show with Dave, and then I left because I was working on something. I think I was getting ready for a tour or something. And I went to the cellar, and you know who I saw at the cellar? George Wallace. And I was like, that's so cool. That guy's he doesn't have to work at this hard at this point. And he was at the cellar trying to fix some bit
Yeah.
and killing.
Yeah, but that's the enjoyment, isn't it? It's kind of like, it's like being a carpenter, isn't it? You're just like, it's not quite finished, that bench. I just need to shear a bit of wood off and just smooth it down. And yet to the unobserved eye, it's like, this same thing. You're like, nah, I said shouldn't.
Oh, yeah. One, I mean, that's the other thing with like these bits that are like, maybe the tread's worn on the tire a little bit.
Yeah.
You can kind of you can start saying it a little different. You can add a little pause, and the whole thing becomes fresh for you.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
And another thing I've been trying to figure out is like, well, I realized that if I'm having fun, you get another like 30%. And that's why I feel like with your bits, your new bits, the bit is at its peak at that moment where the best the bit's ever gonna be is at that moment when you were talking about earlier, when you say the one word that changes the whole thing, and your brain is like, no, this, and then you do that. You're never gonna be able to reach that again. And what's hard is by the time you're recording a special, you somehow got to capture that energy from that first time, because audiences can feel that. They have the sixth sense for it.
And that's where Espresso and Martini,
you got to be fired up, hammered,
and Indian food,
well fed,
and books.
You got to have the right input.
Exactly, and pen and paper.
And so you can write the idea down.
They all come to hand.
Let me just say this about the pen and paper, because I looked into it because of what we were coming today.
Yep.
And it was amazing. I didn't know this, and this is maybe for stand-ups who are listening. So there was a Japanese doctor who wired up a bunch of people to see what would happen if he gave some keyboards and give some pen and paper. The people using keyboards, it used one neural pathway, lights up in the brain. Pen and paper, 17 different ones.
Wow.
So
what would they be writing?
So
it's because
creative writing.
So you're using your hand,
spatial recognition and things, and at the end of it, they're recalling 40% more than the people who are typing.
That I completely agree with that.
Incredible.
Because your memory is so much better for things you've written down than it is for things you've typed.
And people in old age, they're actually keeping their marbles for longer. The ones who write for 10, 15 minutes a day with their hands, it's actually like super healthy as well.
I started journaling like a few years ago, and I found it really helpful. Just and just writing anything before I go to I have massive insomnia issues, so I I talked to went to like a sleep doctor, and they told me to have a routine before I went to bed. But two things I do before I go to bed every day. I write in a journal for a little bit, just whatever. If something funny happened that day, and if there's something that's like the equivalent of the Woody Allen drawer, I'll put like a little star, like that could be an interesting scene or something.
Sure.
And then I just write whatever, whatever silly thing or interesting thing, or even just we had this great meal, whatever, and then I'll read for a little bit, and the writing, it's also, I've read about how if you're worried about stuff, you write the things you're worried about, or having a to-do list and crossing it out. It's really psychologically powerful to feel like, oh yeah, I got it. That feeling of like crossing that thing on the to-do list, you're like, oh yeah, I did it. Podcast. Yeah.
Where do they all go, these journals?
I just keep them
Because that's the thing I've got. I've got so many joke books. They're just everywhere.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I'm quite looking forward to my son kind of nosing through them all when he's a bit older. It'll be such a window into son. Do you want to see madness? Make your way through them books.
Yeah, I've thought about that. Wow, what I would have loved to see.
Well, that's it. Imagine
what my dad wrote.
totally.
Yeah,
When
he was
what a window.
my age. Okay, what is he?
Yeah.
My dad's he's a physician. He's a gastroenterologist. He was probably writing about. I don't know who knows what he'd be writing about, but his life was so radically different than mine. It'd be so interesting to hear what he was dealing with, what he was
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? It's the stories behind the image that you have, and I've read one of my dad's diaries when he was at university.
Oh wow!
And I was one at the time, and so he was. But the confidence he has, he's basically talking about his exams. He went, I absolutely nailed that. I think I got 85%. Took Russ down the beach. He absolutely loved it. So it's this insane thing where you're like, good God, how, like, can you imagine being at university and having a son and revising and then going, right, let's go down the beach. So how do you fit all that in? Because when I was at uni, I was a child.
So was I.
I didn't have a kid.
I mean, we're obviously on a similar age of kind of doing life stuff, because you got married around the same age I did, and I don't know if you have kids, but
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I are trying to have kids. But
oh, great!
I could do it. I feel like I can handle it now, but hopefully, I don't know. But when I think about the idea of having a kid when I was in school, it's like, yeah, I was a kid. What was I?
yeah, it's wild. My son's 2, and it's an absolute joy. What's his name? What's the comedian? He's got a lovely big mouth. He's LA based. He's got blonde hair, big tall guy. Oh gosh, American. Oh, what's his name? He does the Batman kind of parodies on Instagram.
I don't know.
He's got a really smiley face.
LA guy, I don't know.
Oh God, that's really killing me.
I'm sure I know him, and
you would definitely know him. He's lovely. Anyways, he told me a really fascinating. He said a fascinating thing. Because he said, how old's your son? I said, he's 8 months, and he said, wow, so you're about a year away from meeting him, and he was absolutely bang on.
Wow.
Because my son is now potty training. So he sits on the toilet, having a wee or a poo, and tells me everything he knows. And there isn't anything greater. Genuinely, it's this weird, profound. He's squeezing out a poo and then going, "Daddy, a bird over there, bird fly, mummy on choo-choo train." So it's honestly, it's the sweetest, loveliest, weirdest thing.
Would Pete Holmes be pleased that
Pete Holmes,
that Big Mouth was the first thing you thought?
Pete Holmes, no, he's a mate. He's fine. He does have a big mouth.
God,
I've got a big mouth.
In such a long time.
Pete Holmes, what a lovely fella he is.
Yeah, he's a very sweet guy.
Absolute sweetheart. I really enjoyed that, Aziz. Lovely to meet you.
Oh, so great to meet. When are you doing your show in London? I want to come.
I'm going to try and do some more. I did the Palladium, so I'm going to do some more dates. I think.
That's where I saw Mulaney. That's a
Did
beautiful
you?
theater
I see.
too.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, Sinatra played there. Yeah?
He did. I probably not till next year thinking about it, but I would love to come and see your show, the Albert Hall, if I may.
Oh man, of course. I'll give you 5% off.
Good lad. Good lad.
There's a
that'd be
link
great.
to get tickets for Aziz's show in the notes to this podcast.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Aziz Ansari.
Oh, thanks so much.
That was great.